Hi, my dear students. I am Sunira from Department of Physics, Government College, Madapalli. In this lecture, we will learn about conservation laws and symmetries. We learned about many conservation laws in previous years. Energy conservation, linear momentum conservation, angular momentum conservation, charge conservation, baryon number conservation, fermion number conservation. There are so many conservation laws you learned in previous years. In here, we can just check what is meant by a conservation law. Okay, so a conservation law states that a physical quantity cannot change during course of a reaction between particles, then the physical quantity is called a conserved quantity. Then the law is called conservation law. That is, the physical quantity remains invariant. Similarly, there are many conservation laws. I have told you some of them. Now, these most of the conservation laws are derived from decades of experiments. But some conservation laws are put forward along with the definition of the physical quantity. For example, the law of conservation of charge. Actually, the conservation of charge appears along with the definition of the charge. It states that charge cannot be created nor be destroyed. The quantity is conserved in this universe. Now, what are the importance of these conservation laws? The conservation laws are used to simplify a physical system, to analyze it. In the case of classical physics mainly deals with dynamic equations. If you know initial conditions of a physical system and its equation of motion, you can predict its future. What happens to the system in future? Okay? So, the importance of conservation laws are secondary in the context of classical physics because we always deals with varying parameters, dynamic quantities, dynamic physical quantities. But in the case of modern physics handles events ruled by probability. So here the importance is for the prediction of what will not happen. The case of classical physics, we predict what happened to the system. But in the case of modern physics, the importance is what cannot happen, to prediction of what cannot happen. For that, conservation laws help us a lot to predict the happening of events. No process takes place by contradicting any conservation law. Any process which does not contradict any conservation law occurs with a certain probability. These are the main relations, main statements connected with the conservation law. So, the conservation laws are among the most basic laws of nature. If you know, if the knowledge of the conservation laws ruling a particular process help us to determine the probability of any particular event. This helps to learn kinematics of the system. Certain conserved quantities act as a source of a force, just like charge. In this case, this helps to learn dynamics of the system. So, the knowledge of the conservation law help us to learn about kinematics and similarly the dynamics. In the case of kinematics, we the knowledge of the force is not important, but in the case of dynamics, we need the knowledge of the force. In some case, the conservation laws help us to find out the nature of the force, similarly to analyze the kinematics of the physical system. Okay. Modern physics is ruled by conservation laws. That is, in the all the events are depends on, we can predict events based on the probability. Okay, the conservation laws determine what cannot occur. Any process which does not contradict these laws surely takes place. Any process which does not contradict with a particular conservation law surely takes place. Okay. So certain quantities remain constant throughout all interactions. There are many types of conservation law. Some conservation laws are universal. That means these parameters remains invariant throughout all interactions. But some conservation laws are invariant in some interactions but may change in others. For example, the law of conservation of charge is invariant in all interactions. It's a universal law. At the same time, the conservation of kinetic energy. The conservation of kinetic energy is valid only for elastic scattering. All other cases, the kinetic energy is not conserved. Okay, so certain conservation laws are valid for certain interactions. Certain conservation laws are universal. They can apply in all circumstances. So there is an interesting relationship between these conservation laws and symmetries of nature. Okay, so we can discuss about symmetry next. Okay. So what is the symmetry? In your mathematical physics paper, you learned about discrete group symmetry groups, the symmetry groups of equilateral triangle or the symmetry group of a square. The symmetry of a pattern means its shape will not change with respect to certain operations. In the case of a square or an equilateral triangle, there are certain types of rotations and reflections about certain planes. These are helps to keep the system invariant. These type of the operations are called symmetry operations. Okay, these are the symmetry of a pattern. When we speak about the symmetry of an algebraic equation, we can define it like this: a plus b equal to c plus d. This equation is symmetric with respect to the operation. A changes to minus c and c changes to minus a. In this context, this equation is invariant. Okay. All conservation laws are connected with certain elementary symmetry of nature. Okay, all conservation laws are connected with certain elementary symmetry of nature. Laws of nature do not vary under certain imaginary operations. This is called principle of invariance. Okay, the invariance of laws of nature under certain imaginary operations are called principle of invariance. Okay, the relationship between the conservation laws, symmetries, and the principle of invariance were first established by M.E. Noether. The first one to recognize the importance of symmetry was Jacobi, Carl Gustav Jacobi. Later, William Rowan Hamilton learned about this symmetry. Then comes Pierre Curie. At the beginning of the 20th century, David Hilbert learned about these conservation laws and symmetry. M.E. Noether was his student. M.E. Noether was the first one who connected all these things: conservation laws, symmetries, and the invariance principles. Here, theorem states that Whenever a law of physics is not affected by some operation or displacement, a conservation law for some physical quantity can be derived. Okay, this law is postulated by the M.E. Noether. So, if a physical law is invariant under certain operation, we can find out a conservation law of some physical quantity connecting with the system. There are so many conservation laws in classical physics. They are conservation of energy and mass. This law is invariant under translation in time. Here, the symmetry is the homogeneity of time. The second one is conservation of linear momentum. This law is invariant under translation in space. Here, the symmetry is homogeneity of space. Similarly, conservation of angular momentum. Here, the invariance is invariant under rotation in space. The symmetry is space is isotropic. Finally comes conservation of electric charge. Here, the equations of electromagnetism are independent of the definition of 0 point of the electric potential. Okay, so the reference point, the 0 point of the electric potential is not the system is not the equation of motion. The electromagnet Maxwell's equations are independent of the 0 point of the electric potential. This leads to the conservation of electric charge. Now we can discuss conservation of energy and mass. The law of conservation of energy was altered many times whenever a new form of energy was discovered. In 17th century, the law is known as conservation of mechanical energy, which states that the sum of kinetic and potential energies remains constant under certain conditions. Kinetic energy of a body having mass m and velocity v, which is less than the velocity of light in vacuum, is given by half mv square. The potential energy depends on the external forces acting on the body. The body placed at a height h from ground possesses mgh potential energy. Here g is the gravitational acceleration. Now, the linear accelerator. One-stage linear accelerator is an example for conservation of mechanical energy. Here, a proton or electron enters into the accelerator with high potential energy and negligible kinetic energy. High potential energy means EV potential energy. E is the electronic charge and V is the accelerating potential. It comes out with a very high kinetic energy. In the non-relativistic case, this kinetic energy half mv square is equal to the potential energy EV. So the final velocity of the particle is given by V equal to root of 2 EV by m. This is one example for mechanical energy conservation. In our daily life, mechanical energy is not conserved due to frictional forces. Okay? Frictional forces produce heat. Later it is recognized as heat is a form of energy which is known as thermal energy. So the energy conservation law was formulated in a more general way. The mechanical energy is merely transformed into thermal energy. So the temperature of the system rises due to the thermal energy. Later, it was found that the thermal energy is the kinetic energy of atoms or molecules within the substance. So, if we deal with molecules or atoms, we solely discuss mechanical energy, no need of thermal energy or heat. When in 20th century, the Einstein formulated the relativity, and it was found that E equal to mc square. That means mass is a form of energy. So energy can be converted into mass and mass into energy. Then a general law of mass and energy is postulated. That is, this law states that the sum of energy and mass in units of energy in a closed system is constant. So, the symmetry behind this law is the time invariance of physical laws. Okay, the symmetry behind this law is the time invariance of physical laws. Now, importance of energy mass conservation. The physical law remains same with respect to time is called time invariance. The physical law which applies today will apply hereafter. This is called time invariance. If you apply a particular law for a physical system today, it is valid later. It will be valid after hundreds or thousands of years. Okay, this is called time invariance. This law denies the creation of mass or energy out of nothing. That means nothing can be created from nothing. Evolution through decades, the mechanical energy conservation is replaced by energy mass conservation law. Now we will discuss about conservation of linear momentum. As all of you know, the linear momentum is defined as the product of mass into velocity of the particle. Okay, P equal to m into v. In relativistic case, the mass is replaced with a modified mass m equal to m0 by root of 1 minus v square by c square. That means when the velocity of the particle is comparable with the velocity of light in vacuum, then its mass increases. The mass of the particle increases. Okay. The momentum of a massless particle is defined as P equal to E by C. Okay, so here there are two equations. One equation for massive particle P equal to mv, and the another equation for massless particles P equal to E by C. Now we can join these two equations into a single one, which is given by P equal to root of E square by C square minus m0 square C square. Here E is called the total relativistic energy and m0 is the rest mass. That means the relativistic energy means the kinetic energy and the energy resulting from its mass. Okay, so this is a general expression. This equation is valid for both massive and massless particles. Okay, if the particle has mass 0, you get P equal to E by C. Otherwise, this is the equation for mv, P equal to m into v. If its velocity is low comparing with the c, this equation reduced it to p equal to piece of the order of m0v. Okay, so this single equation handles all the cases: massive particle, massless particle, relativistic particle, and non-relativistic particle. Okay. Similarly, linear momentum is a vector quantity. Its direction and magnitude both are important. Okay, now we can move on to the impacts. So the law states that the total linear momentum of a system is conserved unless there is no external force acting on the system. The momentum increases continuously for a body falling under gravity because here there is an external force acting on the body. That force is the gravitational force. So the momentum increases continuously. The recoil of cannon after firing a shell is an example for conservation of linear momentum. In particle physics, the total momentum of a group of particles before the reaction must be equal to the total momentum of the particle after the reaction. So this momentum conservation uh, should be applied both in its direction and magnitude. Okay. Now we can check its importance. The first thing, this law simplifies the analysis of reactions between particles. For example, consider a particle at rest. This particle splits into two. As shown here, this is a particle at rest and this one splits into two. And these two particles will move in opposite direction in order to conserve linear momentum, because initially this linear momentum is zero. So these two particles should move in opposite direction and the ratio of their velocities should be equal to the inverse of ratio of their masses. Then only this linear momentum is conserved. Okay. Now, suppose the particle at rest splits into three, like this. Here, the particle at rest splits into three. Then, they will move, these all three particles will move in the same plane in order to conserve linear momentum. The diagram itself, you can understand the case. If this not happened in the same plane, the momentum conservation get violated. So we can understand that if a particle at rest splits into three, they should move in the same plane. Using a frame of reference which moves with the particle, we can treat any particle as stationary or rest. By keeping a frame of reference attaching to the body, we can keep a particle at rest or stationary to analyze these two cases. Okay. The third case is if a particle spontaneously decays, it cannot have a particle spontaneously cannot decay into a particle whose mass is greater than its own mass. Why? Because if the kinetic energy of a rapidly moving particle to be converted into mass, it would feel that a particle with greater mass may produce. But this violates the law of conservation of linear momentum or law of conservation of energy. That means if a particle spontaneously decay and if it produce a particle with greater mass, its kinetic energy should be converted to mass. Then only it have a greater mass. Then what happens? There is a mismatch in its linear momentum conservation. So this will not happen. So a particle cannot decay spontaneously into another particle whose mass is greater than its own mass. Similarly, the case of pair production. All of you learned about pair production. A photon is a massless particle. A photon cannot produce into electron-positron pair if there is no nucleus. That means only in the presence of a nucleus pair production happens. Otherwise, it violates law of conservation of linear momentum. Okay, because photon is massless, electron and positron are particles with mass. So, in this case, the energy of the kinetic energy of the photon is transformed into the mass of this electron and positron. During this process, in order to keep the linear momentum conserved, there should be the presence of a nucleus. Okay, this is also another impact of the conservation of linear momentum. Now, the collision of a rapidly moving particle with a particle can create a particle with greater mass. If a particle with a fast moving particle collide with another one, this may produce a massive particle, a particle whose mass is greater than the moving particle. In this case, a part of the kinetic energy is transformed into mass. So, the conservation of linear momentum uh, uh, it keeps the conservation of linear momentum. That means the generation of antiprotons in accelerators. You can give an example using accelerator. If there is a fast moving proton and it collides with a proton which is at rest, then they produce proton antiproton pair. Okay, that is shown here. This proton is a fast moving one. This proton is at rest. When these two collide each other, they produce another proton and antiproton pair. Fast moving proton, slow proton at rest, and produces proton antiproton pair. Here, the fast moving proton must be accelerated up to 6 giga-electron-volt. Only one-third of its energy is converted into mass. That is only 2 giga-electron-volt converted into mass. When two colliding particles move towards one another with equal velocities, all the kinetic energy can be converted into mass. Okay, if two particles, both the particles moves with very high velocity in opposite direction and get collided, entire kinetic energy is transformed into mass. This principle is used in collider accelerators or storage ring. A particle cannot decay into a single particle with a mass less than its own mass due to the conservation of linear momentum. If a particle cannot decay into a particle cannot decay into a single particle. For example, the spontaneous decay of neutral lambda particle into neutron. This is an impossible decay. The difference in mass would have to be converted into the kinetic energy of the neutron. Then it violates the conservation of linear momentum. So, if a particle spontaneously decays into another particle, there another single particle whose mass is less than this one is impossible. This violates the conservation of linear momentum. Okay, so we can see that the momentum conservation is a consequence of homogeneity of space, and the energy mass conservation is a consequence of homogeneity of time. Hope that you can understand all the things we discussed here. Now you can read the particle physics book very well to learn all the things very well. Okay, thank you.